Hello students, so I am back with the second part of the first lesson for class 7, 3 questions. I have told you about what happened in the first part. There was a king who was having 3 questions in his mind. He tried to find the answers for those 3 questions. The first question was, what is the important time to begin something? The second question, who are the most important people to be with? Third question, what is the correct thing to do? Okay, so he sent his messengers throughout the country to find the answers of these 3 important questions of his life. Many answers came, but no answer could satisfy him completely. So he finally wanted to visit a hermit who was living in a jungle to find out the answers. He wanted to ask the questions to the hermit, whom he was thinking was a wise man. So he goes there. Before entering into the forest, he asks his bodyguard to remain there with his horse. He goes to the hermit and asks him. At that time, the hermit was digging the ground. He was making beds on the ground to sow seeds. So he did not speak anything. Instead of speaking anything, the hermit stood still. He went on working. So the king could able to understand that the hermit was actually tired, and he asked him his spade for which he could be able to help him out. So the hermit handed over his spade to the king. The king went on digging the beds. So let's see what happens with both of them in the second part. The king turned round and saw a bearded man running towards them. His hands were pressed against his stomach, from which blood was flowing. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. So both of them suddenly noticed that an unknown person was coming towards them. He was rushing towards them. His hands were pressed against his stomach, and his stomach was heavily bleeding. Why? Because there was a wound in his stomach. So there might be a story behind this. So let's see what was the story. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until at last the bleeding stopped. So both of them, the king and the hermit, started nursing the unknown person because he was heavily bleeding and he fell on the ground, he fainted. So it was their duty to make him feel better. The king started nursing him. The king started dressing his wound. After his efforts, he tried to cover the wound with his handkerchief, but the blood did not stop. Then again he dressed the wound, and the bleeding stopped. The man felt better and asked for something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. By this time the sun had set and the air was cool. The king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. With the great effort of the king, the man could able to sit, and he asked for something to drink. The king fetched him a glass of water. He drinks that, and he was very tired and he was actually not feeling well. So he wanted to sleep. By the time it was evening. Okay. So now, with the help of the hermit, the king takes the wounded man into the hut, and they left him there. They wanted the person to take rest on the cot. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. The king, tired by his work and the work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept throughout the night. We have to say that the king was also very tired, because continuously for several hours he was digging the ground, and immediate after he started dressing the wound. He started running behind the wounded person. So actually he was tired. So he also wanted to take rest. He laid down on the floor and he slept through the night. When he awoke, it was several minutes before he could remember. You can see the picture here. this was the wounded man, and the king is dressing his wound, and the hermit was with both of them. Where he was, or who the strange bearded man lying on the bed was. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice when he saw that the king was awake. So the king was slept because he was very tired, he was exhausted, and in the morning he wakes up. Before he could remember what happened with him the previous evening, somebody comes to him and he asks him to forgive him. He asks the king to forgive him. So it was a kind of surprising thing for the king. Who was that person? Because he was unable to remember what happened exactly with him the previous evening. "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. The king surprisingly told the person, the unknown person, "I don't know you and I don't know what exactly you did to me. What you did to me? Why I should forgive you? You don't know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore revenge on you because you put my brother to death and seized my property." Then the unknown person reveals himself and he tells that "I am your enemy. I wanted to kill you. I swore that I will take revenge on you. The cause is you put my brother to death. That means you gave death sentence to my brother and you seized all my property, for which I wanted to kill you. I wanted that I should take revenge on you. I knew you had gone alone to see that hermit, and I made up my mind to kill you on your way home. But the day passed and you did not return. So the plan of the unknown person was he will hide himself in the forest, and when the king will return from the hermitage, he will attack on him. It was his plan. But we know that the king did not return the whole day, for which the unknown person had to come out from his hiding place. And I came upon your bodyguard, who recognized me and wounded me. So when he had to come out from his hiding place, the bodyguard who was there with his horse, he could recognize this person and he attacked this person because he knows the fact that he was the enemy of the king. So when he knew that this person was hiding himself there only the cause was he wanted to kill the king, he attacked him. The bodyguard attacked the unknown person. I escaped from him, but I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds. I wished to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now, if I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant and will order my sons to do the same. Forgive me. So in a very humble way, in a very low voice, he told that mighty king, actually I wanted to kill you. I was having a great grudge on you. I wanted your life to end. But you are the person for whom today I am alive. This moment I am living only because of you. Because, however, I escaped from your bodyguard. But what about the wound? If you have not nursed me that evening, I definitely would have died at that moment. So you are the person who saved my life. Even though I was trying to kill you, you are the person who saved my life. So if I'll be surviving, then I promise you that I will serve you. That means I will work under you, and I will also tell my sons to be with you very faithfully, to work for you and also for our country. Forgive me. He very humbly again pleads the king to forgive him. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily and to have won him over as a friend. He not only forgave him but said he would send his servants and his own doctor to look after him, and he promised to give back the man his property. The king was extremely happy. Why? Because he could make peace. That means there was a great enmity in between him and that unknown person. But without any intention of solving this enmity, he could make peace with his enemy. Why? There is a reason behind it. And when this happened, he promised the unknown person, he promised his enemy, who has completely changed now, that he will return all his property. And he was also feeling guilty that he put his brother to death, but he cannot do anything because he was a king. He had to do his duty. So, but he could do one thing, he could return all his property to that person. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked round for the hermit. Then he left the wounded person there in the hut and came out from the hut, and he was searching for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to get answers to his questions. Then also he was very curious to know the answers of his 3 questions. So he was searching for the hermit who was about to answer his 3 questions. The hermit was on his knees sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. So at that time, the hermit was sowing seeds because we know that the day before he was digging the trenches, digging the beds. Why? He was about to sow seeds there. So he was working there, he was sowing the seeds. The king went up to the hermit and said, "For the last time, I beg you to answer my questions, wise man." This time, very humbly, the king goes to the hermit and tells that this is for the last time. I would like to ask the 3 questions, which is actually bothering me. I want to know the answers. So this is the last time, my dear hermit, I want to ask you this question, and please answer me these 3 questions. "You have already been answered," said the hermit, still bending down to the ground and looking up at the king as he stood before him. See, at the time the hermit was working, he was sowing the seeds. When the king for the last time asked the question, he did not stood still. He was going on sowing the seeds, but he gave a straight look to the king, and as if he is standing still, and he is face to face, he is standing still, he is in front of the king. He tried to tell that you have already been answered, mighty king. All your answers you have already got, but you have not realized that you have got your answers. So let's see how he is explaining this statement that the king had already got his answers. How? How have I been answered? What do you mean? The king was amazed to know that all his answers was given to him. So he put a question that, how have I been answered? What do you mean? What the hermit wanted to tell that he had already been answered all his 3 questions. "Do you not see," replied the hermit, "if you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away. Then that man would have attacked you, and you would have wished you had stayed with me." Then the hermit went on explaining the statement. He told that when you came and saw that I was tired, you wanted to help me. If you would not helped me, you would have returned, and while you returned from my hermitage, definitely the enemy of you would have killed you, because it would have been an attack all of a sudden. There was no bodyguard with you, so you would definitely have faced your ultimate death. But you did not do that. You tried to help me because you could able to understand, or you realized my weariness, that I was very tired and I was very exhausted. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds. and I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. So he got the answers, the three answers of his questions. The first question was answered like, the most important time for the king was when he started digging the beds. The most important person for him was the hermit himself, because of the hermit only he indulged himself in that work. And the answer for his third question was digging the beds. It was the most important work for him to do at that moment. Afterwards, when the man ran to us, the most important time was when you were caring for him. Then when the wounded man came towards them, the king started caring for him. So it was the most important time for him to do something, to begin a work. Because if you had not dressed his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. The hermit told, if you would not have cared for him, he would definitely have faced his ultimate death. And he would have died before making peace with you. So, you did something good for him. It was the correct thing for you to do at that moment. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. So who is the important person for the king at that moment? Obviously the unknown person. His enemy was the most important person, because only because of him he could do something good. He could bring out the best out of himself only because of that wounded person. At that moment, the perfect thing for the king to do was to care for him, because all the humanity which was there in the king, it could come out only because of that person and that situation. Remember then, there is only one time that's important, and that time is now. It's the most important time because it is the only time we have any power to act. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment. For no one knows what will happen in the future and whether we will meet anyone else. The most important business is to do that person good, because we were sent into this world for that purpose alone. So finally, the hermit wanted to tell to the king that, remember, what is the most important time for you? Now. This time is mine. I don't know the next moment will be mine or not. I don't know whether I'll be alive in the next moment or not. I don't know. I may face my untimely death the next moment. So what is the important time for me? This time, this moment. This minute is mine. Who is the important person for me at that minute? Whoever is there with me will be the important person for me, because only because of that person with whom you are spending your time with, only because of them you are going to act, whether in a positive way or in a negative way, which is going to show your personality. So obviously the person with you are now is the most important person for you. And to do good is the best thing, best work for you to do. Because if you can give pleasure to the person who is there right beside you, if you can be able to make that person comfortable because your treatment or because of your good deeds, then definitely you are a very good personality and you are showing your humanity. So remember, now is the moment. He is the important person who is there right now with you, and to do good is the most important business to do for you right that moment. So the hermit explained the answers for the three important questions of the king in a very beautiful way. Finally, the king gets all his answers and he is completely satisfied, and he keeps that, whatever lesson was taught by the hermit, all those things was kept in the mind of the king himself. And he is going to act in that way by keeping all those lessons, all those beautiful words told by the hermit. So this was all about the chapter 3 questions. I hope you understood the chapter. So now I would like to give you some questions. Please write it down. The first question is, what are the 3 questions, comma, the king wanted to get the answers? Okay. Next question is, who was that unknown person? What happened to him? And why he came rushingly towards the king? Okay. Third question, how did the hermit explain the answers for the 3 questions of the king? Please write down the answers in 50 to 60 words. Use your own words and try to show your beautiful writing skills while you answer these questions. Okay? Have a good time, my dear children. I'll be meeting you soon with the next chapter. Stay tuned, stay home and stay safe. Thank you.